and I need another notch on my belt. If you're looking for a six-pack, muscled up kind of man.
Dads with Bacon, talking sports. Thursday night, here we are. Charlie, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. So I know for those watching, some of you are used to some different faces being up here with us, but tonight we're going to curveball. Some of the boys are busy, so you get us. Now, Charlie, you do a few other shows here with Dads with Bacon. You want to walk through that for me a little bit? What other shows are you on? And what other things
Adam and I, we do DFS, the Sizzling DFS podcast during the football season, and hopefully we'll expand on some fantasy stuff. I'm about to, over on my page, I'm about to launch the Toilet Ninja Fantasy Funhouse, which for right now I'm going to focus basically on NASCAR fantasy and on fantasy baseball. May throw, as we're getting into the playoff season, I might throw a little bit of hockey in there. The problem with hockey is I'm terrible at pronouncing half of their names. So it's like I try to leave it alone a little bit. And then we've, been with you and Adam as well. We've got If We Were Creative wrestling podcast, which unfortunately I couldn't make this week, but has been a whole lot of fun so far. And I definitely think that some of these guys are watching, and we are all three just totally about to get hired by WWE.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to happen. It's very soon. They're just going to pluck us like, yo, you guys got it.
I will gladly help them cover their speed show now. That's no problem. I can do whatever they want. But, we're talking about wrestling here in a little bit, too, and I kind of give people a little preview of that. But, just jumping off into what we've got this week. Last week we had Daytona 500 and looking forward to Atlanta this weekend. So, Charlie mentioned before, looking at fantasy NASCAR a little bit. Walk me through, man, the Daytona 500. What was that finish, and what do we take away from this?
Man, so that was a Daytona 500, right? This is how it plays out almost every season. You never know where the big one's going to happen, or where the big ones, I should say, because that's kind of been a trend lately. But what a race. I feel bad for Michael McDowell. He is a very, very good. I'll probably, even though it's not so much the same, I'll probably continue to just say plate racers, because that is what we call the restricted plate races. Those the super speedways. Things have changed a bit with the new cars and stuff. But he's one of the best. He had a great qualifying run, started on the front row, and it was like lap 5 or something. Really early in, a wreck happens, takes out some of those great cars out in the front. So I kind of think that since there was a few cars that I really wanted to see how they perform, especially like some Fords and stuff that got taken out early. So I'm not sure if we got a real good feel on how Ford is yet with the Dark Horse Mustang, but I'm excited. That's a good looking car. I'm not, really like the Ford guy so much for NASCAR, but it is a good looking car. But, middle of the race, a lot of drafting, a lot of seeing who's got what, who's looking good. Thing with Daytona is a lot of the guys, there's strategy. And I'm going to say this for fantasy. I play DraftKings for a lot of sports, and I prefer it over FanDuel. I do not prefer NASCAR on DraftKings over FanDuel for a lot of the races, because they have that point differential, and that is ridiculous to have for NASCAR, because it seriously goes against specific strategies of racing. Like in Daytona specifically, a lot of the best cars drop back to the back. It's not start in the back. It's get back, hang back. We'll test a little bit, see what we got, see how many laps we need to get to where we're going, and then drop back. And we see that all the time. And so, it just kind of frustrates me that FanDuel or that DraftKings does that. But we saw that a lot in the middle of the race and stuff. And then, we had a little bit of a dust up getting towards the end. And of course, as you know, cautions breed cautions. And with, I think, 8 laps to go, bam! Oh, my gosh. Some good cars. My boy Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man up front. Man, about to take it. About to get the 500. Oh, I was on the edge of my seat. He's
So-
taken out just like everybody else. And it's just a pile up. And you saw guys, it was great. It was interesting, though, because you've seen some guys. Let me pull up because I've got the finisher right here. William Byron and Alex Bowman, you got two Chevys that finished because they were basically 3 and 4 when it all happened, but they had been up there. The Chevys looked strong. I thought that the Toyotas looked really strong. Christopher Bell had a really good run. He finished P3, or he finished third, and then that's a guy who is not a huge fan of the restrictor plate in the drafting race and stuff, but he did really good. A lot of that, can be there. Corey LaJoy, it was out in the back. I think he was close to, getting near maybe even losing a lap at one point. Came up in the finish in 4th. Bubba Wallace, we saw Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
Had a miss time. I think he had to pit. I think he ran out of gas. Had to pit. Gets back in the mix though, and then bam! What do you get? Top 5 out of Bubba. We're about to get into Atlanta. Atlanta is like a mini super speedway. I love it. Bubba's going to be a pick that people, because of his speedway prowess, might want to use. Fantasy wise, I'm going to stay away from Bubba this week, though, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. But also, man, Zane Smith, got something to prove. Made it through. I think that there was one. He might have got bumped or he got right through, but he made a really good save at some point, and he comes up with a top 15. So that's cool. I'm going to keep an eye on him. Zane Smith has won in a lot of places that he has driven. So I really want to keep an eye on him this season. And unfortunately, the greatest driver ever in NASCAR, that's right, the 7-time champ, Jimmie Johnson, got in on the duel, got in by the duel, did not make qualifying, got in on the duel, involved in the very first wreck as well. And that kind of shot his day. So nothing big out of Jimmy. He's only racing a few races this season, but it's always exciting to see a guy with that kind of NASCAR stats to get back on the track.
Man, that Lowe's 48 car he used to drive was just, the thing looked clean. And he drove that thing like it was going out of style. It was awesome.
Dude, he was the best. That was my guy. After we lost Dale, that was my guy. And I wanted to be Jimmy would have beat Dale on the track. Diesel Pros.
Okay.
Just so you know. When it was all said and done, he would have beat him head to head. But yeah, praise Dale. So after we lost Dale, man, I wanted to be a Junior fan so bad. I really did. And the whole time that I was watching Junior, I kept watching Junior accidentally wreck his teammates. And the whole time, man, there was this Lowe's car, as a rookie that just kept coming up, passing everybody. Man, just looked good. Just like, you know what? That's my guy. That's my guy. I've been a diehard Jimmy fan ever since. Dude, I used to drive around with Jimmie Johnson license plate, like the state license plate that I paid for, not like a vanity plate, man. But yeah, so it was a great, exciting race, especially the end, Daytona. And now we're going to get it again with Atlanta, which is now like the mini super speedway after the reconfiguration. They changed the banking, the pavements, the top is different. It's a lot faster. Well, I don't know if it's a lot faster. I mean, Austin Bill did hit like 212 on the back stretch of Atlanta one time or something. So, that was the fastest track at some point. But this is another one that is going to be fun to watch because you're going to have a lot of drafting. We may get the big one, maybe on a smaller scale, but we might get a couple of them. It's not going to be a thing where I think it's around 33% of the field typically doesn't finish at Daytona. It's going to be a little bit less than that. But for fantasy purposes, and I'll dive more into this later this week in several different places because right now I don't really like to get into a whole bunch of fantasy for NASCAR until after I see qualifying. And if I can see a practice, that even better. But Corey LaJoy and Brad Keselowski Both have put up excellent marks on the new configuration at Atlanta. They routinely have gotten top 10 finishes. So those two guys are definitely going to be in my lineups. I'm going to treat this as far as for DFS, and if you're playing on NASCAR Fantasy, as one of those races where in NASCAR Fantasy, you only get 10 starts. I'm going to save starts on my good guys, and I'm going to go with dudes like LaJoie, Brad Keselowski. I might even try out Zane Smith, some guys that I know I'm not going to use 10 starts this year. Keselowski, I might get close. There's a certain set of tracks that he tends to be really good at, regardless of what car he's in. I can't say regardless of what car he's in, because I believe he's been in the same car since we started this configuration, but he's proven to be good on this track every single time. But this is an exciting race. I wish I was going to it. It's about 2 hours from the house. We're going to get a little bit more of a feel, I think, this week for who's going to be really stronger, Chevys or Toyotas. I know that the Toyotas looked good in the duels. They looked pretty good on Sunday, but the Chevys, to me, they seem to look like they're hitting the Diesel, bro. There is absolutely fantasy NASCAR. It's all over the place, man. You got to check it out. Go on DFS, on DraftKings, and on FanDuels. You can get in on a league. You can start up a latecomers league on NASCAR.com. It's a lot of fun. Yahoo was the best. Yahoo stopped doing it a few years back, but I think them and Fox were probably like the original ones that started the fantasy NASCAR. Their setup was incredible.
It'd be the rules too. If you want to check us out, we'll put a post out there too on this thread when we get those chance later. We do have a Dads with Bacon league we started as well. If you want to come in a week late, you'll come behind the 8 ball. But hey, time to catch up. I'm not good, so you'll catch me at some point.
You'll definitely catch me. I had a terrible Daytona.
So
but that's all right. That's the trash race for fantasy. It really is. Don't put money touches.
But here's my question:
Pontiac out there.
I mentioned last week for myself, I'm a casual. I'm not really a race fan necessarily. I enjoy it once in a while. It's not something I pursue. So with that said, looking at tracks, being the casual watcher, I look for what tracks are going to show me the most wrecks. And you're kind of saying super speedways are definitely it, it sounds like. Is that right?
No. So super speedways, you get the big one. Super speedways is about 470 miles of guys bumper to bumper drafting. It's great. It's exciting. Anytime you get these cars at these speed, inches away from each other driving, to me, that is exciting. But you get some of the best wrecks. That's where you get, tracks like Talladega, where you get Clinton Boyer upside down and on fire sliding across the finish line, that kind of stuff. It's amazing. Now with the safety features in the cars and all, we still get those, but not as much. And that's thankful for that, actually. Just look at like Ryan Newman and guys like that who have taken some terrible hits. But honestly, man, now there's some NASCAR fans out there that are going to differ from me on one of these two. But short track racing, this is where we got our roots. This is what it is. That is the best. You want to see banging, you want to see beating, you want to see bumping, you want to see spinning, you want to see cars bounce off the wall and still keep on going. Bristol, baby. That's the race you want to watch. That's the best track on the NASCAR circuit. Check out, when these guys get up to like the Milwaukee Mile, Dover, Darlington, the Beast. Oh my gosh. Like those tracks, that's where the action is. No, they're not going 200 miles an hour. They're, 85, 110, whatever. But these guys are up on it, single file, you completely take up the track and then some. So there's always action. These are the tracks where guys get their payback, and that's always fun to watch. I'm pretty sure Chastain's going to get a few tattoos this season. I think he's already got some coming, but that's all right. Because he's good against the wall. But short tracks.
Short tracks though.
Road courses. I love road courses. I'm glad NASCAR is expanding and bringing more road courses in. Road courses are awesome. There is a reason that most of the racing circuits internationally all use road courses. Just about everyone. because they are entertaining. They are exciting. There's fast parts. There's slow parts. There's, only limited spaces where you can pass, which makes the skill set much more important than just, the car. Of course, with NASCAR's changes and stuff in the new gen cars and everything, the playing field's evened out a lot more now with the vehicles anyhow. So that's really comes down to the speed or to the skill of the driver, how they can handle it, how they can handle wheel hops, keeping control in the turns, passing when you've only got a few passing lanes. A lot of excitement. A little bit slower pace race, but a lot of excitement. So for me, those two are the most fun to watch.
Okay. No, it's interesting. You mentioned the Milwaukee Mile, and then Road America is not far from us also. So we got those two are the tracks that are closest to me that kind of sticks out in my mind. But saw the mention here, Martinsville, Bristol, Dover.
Oh, yeah.
So just some potholes in Chicago. That's inevitable. But
street courses in Chicago. Yes, that's awesome.
Well, Las Vegas had it, right? Baltimore's had it a few times. I mean, we've seen a few of these actual, again, not say NASCAR all the time, but it's when different races have happened. It's kind of neat what they can do with them.
Yeah, NASCAR's getting into that. So
okay.
Very excited for that.
So I guess switching up a little bit, spring training games have begun, and the Braves are looking. I think they're going to look good this season. There's a lot of things going out there right now that I'm watching closely, especially as baseball gets set. And we saw a few names recently signed. Just for those of you just kind of following along on this, Gio Urshela, the Tigers, Tim Anderson to the Marlins, Mitch Keller extends to the Pirates.
I love that sign. That one. That's a good one.
Well, it shows the Pirates actually investing in a team that has a chance. They got some really nice young talent coming up, and they hung around pretty well for a while this past season. I want to see if they can put it together a little longer. But Rosario going to the Rays, I like that. The Liam Hendriks signing with the Red Sox is interesting to me.
Good for him.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I hate the Red Sox, but good for him.
I really wish he would have came back to the White Sox. I'm really being honest. And that would have been a little more fun to me. Just come back and close up a little differently. But Brandon Woodruff coming back, the Brewers bringing him back with the injury. One of the cool stories that I saw out there too is Austin Nola. The Brewers signed to a minor league deal earlier in the offseason, and they just brought in Gary Sanchez, and they were actually granted Nola his release so he can go sign a major league deal with the Royals. So I'm going to toot my own organization's horn here. Props to the Brewers for being class like that to give the guy, a veteran, a chance to play ball or how he wants to play ball. They could have been sticklers about it, so now we're going to trade you, get some value out of you, but they let the man go play, and props to the organization for doing the right thing to do, in my opinion. So, but we still have big names out there. Looking at Blake Snell publicly has an offer from the Yankees on the table.
Yeah.
I still wait on Bellinger. There's just a lot kind of piece through on all these guys that we talked about it a little bit last week, but Scott Boras is really, I think he owes all baseball fans a beer when the season starts.
Right.
Just go ahead and buy our first rounder, Scott. You're driving us all nuts, and you're definitely making us pay for it with these contracts you're trying to get. So, the dark horse for MLB Athletics will win the division. Diesel Bros, it's a fun hot take. I think it's up there with the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals winning the NFC West. But Baltimore hasn't had an IndyCar race. Correct, they did have an open wheel race, right? I forgot which.
Most of them have.
But anyway, going back on this a little bit, so Bellinger's obviously the biggest name here. Had a big party for himself last year. Looked good, but there are still other players I'm looking at that. Matt Chapman, Josh Donaldson, Evan Longoria. There's pieces here. Elvis Andrews, Brandon Crawford, Jonathan Scope, Davin Solano, Colton Wong. There's some guys who can still contribute some positions there. And then that's not even talking about the outfielders, where you still have Robbie Grossman out there, Austin Meadows is out there, Tommy Pham, Eddie Rosario, Will Myers. JD Martinez is out there for taking, Kyle Lewis. So then we get to the pitchers, and there's even more. It's very interesting to me. So, I like this take coming from Diesel Bros. Blake Snell going to Baltimore after that Burns deal would be a hell of a signing for him. And then Bellinger to Houston. That would be quite the move.
I like that. Snell, I like to Baltimore. That makes a lot of sense. Bellinger's not going to Houston.
Well, so this goes back a few weeks, but our friend TJ a couple weeks ago said something to that effect before too, that Blake Snell going to Baltimore and Bellinger to Houston would make a lot of sense. So, and I see it. It's Houston. You get that bopper in Bellinger in that outfield. That's going to kind of shore up what's an area they have some young talent in, but they could really make the Astros scary, especially coming out of a year where their rivals, the Rangers, win the World Series. That's kind of that'd be a big move. But
I don't think it makes sense money-wise for them, though, because he's coming off of, a decent season when he was healthy for the Cubs. He looked like he was getting back into his true form and stuff. And, given what's going on with free agency and stuff, money-wise, I don't know if it makes sense for Houston, especially when they do have young talent. And at this point, you want to just let that grow. I mean, I see it'd be a good veteran out there, but not an expensive one. To me, would make more sense for that team. They're on the cusp, and they're probably there. They're going to be a contender. I don't think many people are going to sit here and say that Houston's not a contender this year. You know what I mean? They're definitely in the mix. It makes more sense, man, for me. Toronto makes a lot of sense to me for Bellinger to see that. But really, he's got to go back to the Cubbies. He was playing so well.
Oh, as a Brewer fan, I hope he doesn't. I'd love to. Here's the thing people forget about Bellinger. I feel he's been around forever. The guy's 28. This is a young, quality player that he's had his ups and downs, but put him in a spot where he can get legal weed and the dude played out of his mind. So I guess the secret here for Bellinger is he's got to be in a spot where he can legally
go to the Rockies.
The Tigers make sense that way. The White Sox and the Cubs will make sense, but there's ways around that one. So the Nationals, wouldn't that be funny? But anyway, all of that said, it's not even touching the pitchers here. Just Jordan Montgomery is still out there. So we mentioned Blake Snell. Julio Urias is one of the interesting ones to me that's still floating out there. So is Mike Clevinger. People talk about Bauer coming back over. I mean, there's a lot of pieces here we can look at that definitely create some interesting scenarios.
Is it like PR murder to sign him still? Because
depends on who you are.
If not, Atlanta, just go ahead and get it done.
I mean, I think it really depends on who you are and how you're going to approach it. Because now, again, if I look at a team that's on the cusp and this is going to get us over,
right?
I mean,
if the only thing you need is pitching, doesn't that make sense? You're going to get him on the cheap. He's already said, I will come out for the league minimum and earn it back.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think that you look at this too and say, if he's not been arrested, he's not serving time for anything, it's public opinion that's against him, not necessarily the law at this point. So I don't know. I'm not saying I support the guy. I think he's a jerk, but I am curious how that plays out for the team and how they'd handle that kind of a move. So, but anyway, all that said, a lot of things going on in baseball. It's going to be fun to watch. Obviously, it's too early for us to really be able to get a good feeling for how it's going to play out. But excited to have some baseball, hearing those mitts popping, the bad jokes being told by baseball players definitely makes me feel a little better. Switching up a little bit to something that's a little more.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Before that, so we're talking about the free agent pitching and everything. Senga's injury, just went down, and I mentioned this beforehand. Blake Snell, he's got a contract on the table with the Yankees. Does this maybe push the Mets do a little rivalry, little thing. They've got deep pockets now too. You know what I mean? So like, could they, if he's going to be out for a while, could they maybe, get one of these top end free agent pitchers? Because that makes sense. The Mets don't really do things that make sense very often. So I doubt that they would do it, but it might not be a bad idea. Or maybe like, this is another one that I was thinking about, especially for like maybe Montgomery. What about Seattle, who's starting to put together the makings of a really, really good rotation, and one more really solid pitcher could put them over the top for being a true playoff contender, because I think that they're going to win that division anyhow.
So I think guys like Clevenger, Domingo Germán are guys I'd be looking at. And then Blake Snell's an interesting one. Urias, to me, at 27 is still a heck of a sign. So we can get him and kind of get him back to 100% himself. Yeah. That's a talented pitcher. You got to think someone can do something with that. But no, I hear you. I think the Mariners are a sleeper in the West. It's going to be kind of the who gets their first almost. But
Kirby's going to have another year. Kirby's going to have a whole season under his belt of pitching now. That guy could dominate.
Yeah. So going to switch up here a little bit though and go to Elimination Chamber. So we cover this normally. I didn't get a chance to talk to you earlier in the week. But Elimination Chamber here coming up on us. I, for one, will not be waking up. I will watch it later because I can, so I will.
Wait, is it Saturday morning at 5 or Sunday morning at 5?
Saturday morning. So,
yeah,
I'm just not doing that. But that's me. So, but if we go look through it, and if you want a little more detail on my takes, I'm going to focus a little more here on yours because I didn't get to hear from you yet on this one. Going to go down the non-chamber matches first, and then I want to bring you to the chamber matches and kind of give me your feel. But first I want to ask about is Cody and Seth going on the Grayson Waller effect in a premium live event in Australia. This turns into a fight, right? We're going to get something out of this. There's only 2 non-chamber matches currently booked on the card. So I have to believe we're going to get, whether it's Austin Theory, Grayson Waller against Cody and Seth, something has to come of that, right?
Yeah. Oh, it for sure. I mean, this is the grand entrance of the new Shield. That's what this is. And I really think, I don't know if Roman or The Rock will come out. I feel like The Rock is going to be, you're in Australia. You want to make a big show of it. We know that WWE's trying to kind of heighten their international shows and stuff. So it makes sense to me from that standpoint to have maybe The Rock there. But if we get like an Uso or something like that out there and somehow a match comes about, that would make complete sense. They got to do something. If not a match, maybe a brawl. I mean, look, we're going to eat up some time with a good brawl. Just right there. Let them go at it for a minute. I think that would be cool. But I feel like, this is a thing where at some point through this, The Rock comes out and he has somebody else do his dirty work for him.
Well, does he use Solo then, right? Solo's kind of been the henchman for the bloodline in general. Does he kind of use Solo some more?
Yeah. Solo would make sense. Just let him get rocked, though, because we all want to see Solo just get rocked.
I think it's going to happen for a while. I think Solo's build has been huge, but I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I still think it's going to happen yet. But the other thing that came from last week that is a different match from the card here, but I'm just scratching my head. How does Pete Dunne keep finding himself in horrible naming situations? What the heck is the New Catch Republic? You are British strong style, darn it. Stop it. Stop it. This is Butch all over again. Like, come on. We have the big strong boy, Tyler Bate. We have Pete Dunne. Can we just be British strong style, please? I don't know.
I gotta say, I love Tyler Bate though. You know why? Okay, is it just me, or is it seriously just like watching Hacksaw, a retread of Hacksaw Jim Duggan's? His
I see
movements
it.
and the facial expressions, and I mean, you see him. He's it's like he studied him. Like every time I see him, I think to myself, it's like, this is the new Hacksaw right here. I see it. I love it.
He's like half the size of Hacksaw, but
He's like a little mini Hacksaw.
I know. We'll call him
It's a little handheld Hacksaw.
We'll call him a handsaw, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, but no. I mean, looking at this, they're going up against Judgment Day for the titles here. I feel like we have R-Truth incoming here. I feel like there's so much that's going to happen. I feel like R-Truth is going to really just destroy the Judgment Day's day. I think he's going to try and cost Rhea and fail. I think he's going to get his butt kicked for it, but I think he's going to first cost Judgment Day the tag team titles. And what do they want to call themselves? Bate and Dunn get the titles, and we can enjoy. What I hope to see is Bate and Dunn versus DIY at WrestleMania for the titles would be an absolute dream match for me. Like give me some glorious tag team action. So we'll see what comes of that. But it takes us to Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax.
Well, let me say this though. So because I love where you're going with the R-Truth, and I think that he is going to play a part. I'm very excited that they're starting to build R-Truth's character again more. I love that dude. He's the comedy relief of the show, and every good wrestling show's got to have the comedy relief, and he does it so well. But picture this. He comes in, right, and tries to foil Judgment Day, gets himself into trouble, and all of a sudden, Cena comes out and saves R-Truth.
I would love it.
In Australia, you want to get the numbers up. You want to make sure that every single one of us that have been at work or doing something at the kids' soccer game or something like that on Saturday morning, we have already heard that Cena came out in Australia, and we got to watch it when we get home. You know what I mean? And it would just be a cool little thing to do. And they've been kind of playing on R-Truth's love for John Cena, his stuff. And so, why? Why are they playing on that a bit if they don't plan on using it?
Well, I think it builds to Mania. I think we get Rock Cena again at Mania. So if they're not going to get Rock or Roman, they might give us Rock Cena instead.
That would be awesome.
I mean, it makes sense to me. But no, great points. But where do you see this Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax match going? I mean, they're in Australia. They're not going to take off Rhea at home, are they? They can't, right?
They absolutely can. That's like the most WWE thing to do. Like, you know what? That's the most WWF thing to do.
Right.
That's what that is. Absolutely. How many times have we seen folks go to their hometown and get just crushed? I mean, that is a thing. And, I had that same line of thought really until this week. And the whole with Raw. Dude, Nia's on a tear.
Yeah.
She is on a tear. And they are painting her as a straight enforcer. Like, nope, this woman, she ain't having it. There ain't nobody. Watch. Let's just have her take the entire stable out in one show. I mean, I don't know. It feels like they're building for that. And if you think about it, I mean, if the belt changes hands at Elimination Chamber, oh man, dude, right before WrestleMania, talk about, the story buildup would be great. That would be great. Then you've got
changes who you look at winning the Chamber though entirely. If Jax were to somehow beat Rhea, it flips the whole script on the Chamber match for what you got to be looking for. So
maybe
Adam mentioned the idea looking at Bianca having a good showing, but setting up a duel with Jade Cargill for Mania. If she doesn't make this, we got to give her something to do. And I can see that, but I think if Nia wins, I think that paves the way for Bianca or Naomi to win, where I would not pick Naomi any other way. But if you have Naomi, you get that other side of the bloodline, Nia Jax and Naomi going at it. It plays a little more on this, Samoan family feud going to WrestleMania season. So I'm not sure about that, but
well, picture this though.
Yeah,
a fatal 3-way for the championship at WrestleMania. Depending on how Nia wins, if she was to take the belt and say you've got Becky winning the Chamber possibly, or Liv, I mean, it would make sense because they want the champ in that match. Becky knows who she wants. Becky's not going after the belt. She's going after the Reckoning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that would make for a great match because then you got the two of them that can just take out Nia and then duke it out.
Right.
Because it's going to take two. That woman is on a mean streak.
Well, then going to the men's match, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, KO, and Logan Paul in this match. So who do you see winning the men's Elimination Chamber match this weekend?
All right, so I said it the other week, and I'm sticking with it. Randy Orton's going to win this.
Okay.
Randy Orton is going to win this because we have got enough storyline stuff in this match without any of these other guys needing to win this match. But where's Randy's story going right now? And the Viper Man, that's a perennial like number one contender right there. Doesn't matter if he was healthy or not healthy. He is now. He's one of the best wrestlers in this table. That's the bottom line. He's one of the guys. We all love him. He could be a bad guy. He could be a good guy. We all love him. It doesn't matter. He is like the Punisher for a comic. He is the anti-hero. I love it. He's like Venom. He's great. So I think that Randy wins this. I think more so though the stuff that we're gonna get with like KO and Logan Paul and what we're gonna get with LA Knight and Drew. I think it's going to be great. I think that's going to be great. LA Knight, Drew, they had their little promo the other night. I dug it. I loved that. That was a great promo. I just want to say, WWE, that was a great promo. Give me some more stuff. Take it back. Make me feel like I'm watching wrestling back in the day.
Right.
That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. I want to see two dudes face to face in front of the mic barking at each other. Not in the middle of the ring, backstage, barking at each other. It was awesome. I love that. So I think we expand on that, those two, and then something's going to happen between KO and Logan Paul. This story is not over. KO and Logan Paul, I said it when we were talking after the last pay-per-view. This story is going to WrestleMania. Logan Paul and KO are going to WrestleMania, and it's going to be brass knuckles and everything. And this is how we're going to get there. Something's going on. I think that the two of them are going to brawl. I think man, I don't know.
I want to see KO cost Logan Paul the match.
Yes.
You know, KO's eliminated earlier. I want to see him cost Logan Paul the match to kind of prompt here we go.
Absolutely. It's it's set up to, right? Isn't it? Like it has to, I know it's so obvious, but doesn't it kind of have to go this way? I mean, you're building up with Drew in LA, and you've got the thing with KO and Paul, and you've thrown them all four in there. It's like, right? Like these two pairings have got to just go off during this match. So it's like, I mean, what does that, what does that leave the rest of the guys? It basically leaves Randy to win it.
Fair enough. But I actually have Drew McIntyre winning this one. I think that Seth and Drew have a little more to finish the story. But
absolutely they do.
But I think that Randy would be a fun pick to see actually work. So there's that. Sorry, I text my wife. I listen to that quick, but we're good. But 'tis the season to prepare for the craziness that comes to us very shortly. But one thing I'm looking at, kind of preparing for this, we're not quite down to really dissecting the bracket yet, but a little bit of bracketology here. There's a lot of power teams that I would say are squarely on the bubble that really caught my attention. In particular, I'm going to list off these 20 real quick, and this is in order I'd rank them as that bubble power teams. But Michigan State, Oklahoma, Gonzaga, Butler, Providence, Cincinnati, Villanova, Pitt, St. John's, Texas, Syracuse, Iowa, NC State, K-State, UNLV, UCLA, Indiana, Maryland, Xavier, and Oklahoma State. Now, look, I would say that south of Iowa there, so NC State, K-State, UNLV, UCLA, Indiana, Maryland, Xavier, Oklahoma State, I think their goose is cooked. I think they're out. But for discussion's sake, I want to have a little fun with the bracket here. So I'm going to ask you to play along with me here. I'm going to put it on the screen for us. But let's go through a little bit of pre-bracket action here just to see what we can do. So here it comes. And
ka-chow.
There we go. So,
I already took my glasses off for this. Yeah, I'm home. It's cool. Let's go.
We'll start with that first matchup here. We're saying that UCLA against Oklahoma State. So this would be pairing up the 16 seed and the 20 seed for a play-in game. Winner gets to face Michigan State. So I personally got UCLA. I think they're higher ranked for a reason, but I think there's that little better program. Oklahoma State's great, but I think they're too far down this year to really make a difference in this matchup. So I think this is where I'm going UCLA. What would you take in this matchup?
Yeah, no, I think the pedigree here wins. I mean, UCLA, that's just an overall good basketball program. The numbers are right on this one. They're going to be there.
So NC State and Indiana creates a very interesting. Now, this one I got to tell you goes between what I want to pick and what I'm actually going to pick. I want to pick Indiana because I want the Big Ten to do well, but NC State for me again has that top line here for a reason. I think Indiana's just a little bit too far down this year to be able to really do much. But where would you go with this one? I know you guys can track some history with Indiana as well, but who are you picking in NC State and Indiana this season?
Well, my heart is always in Indiana because that's where I'm from. The Hoosiers know how to play ball. NC State is, I think, a school that is overall been overhauling their athletics department kind of across the board over the last few years, and I think that's starting to pay off. So I think that it's a tight one.
Okay.
But I just, you know what? The Hoosiers can ball.
All right, we're going to go with our hearts here, even if it doesn't quite make sense all the time, because the Butler Indiana storyline is too much fun for me to pass
Absolutely. That was the defining point for me too. Look at them and be like, well, there's Butler there, so why don't we get him with the Bulldogs?
So the Terps of Maryland and the Wildcats of K-State for our next matchup for playing. Maryland's had some nice upsets themselves. They've had some ups and downs. K-State's just doesn't look like themselves. So where do you go with this matchup?
Man, Maryland's a crazy basketball team because they can lose to anyone and they can show up so big in certain moments. But I like K-State, I think overall is a better basketball team. And when it comes down to tournament play, usually if I'm going to have to make this, I mean, everybody likes a good Cinderella story, but I think K-State would take Maryland.
All right. The next one's interesting for me too, but looking at the Rebs of UNLV against the Musketeers of Xavier. Where do you go with this one?
Oh, what is UNLV's rank?
They're unranked right now. So for all intents and purposes here, they're at 15. Xavier is 19 for what we have going right now. But yeah, UNLV is, I think they're 15-10 right now, if I'm not mistaken. So they're definitely on a down year for their standards.
Yeah. I haven't seen much of them this season. I haven't gotten to watch nearly as much college basketball as I would have liked to. I'm pulling up their standings right now. I think off of competition and whatnot, I'd probably go with Xavier. I think their road's a little bit harder. And in 2 down years, I think maybe that's going to be the deciding factor for me. I think they just play in a little bit better of a basketball region than what UNLV does.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll go Xavier on that one. But I think that's almost a coin flip.
That's a tough one to call for sure. UNLV has been very up and down. They've had their good runs at rivalries as well. Upsets as well. But yeah, I'm agreeing on that with going with Xavier. We'll go through there. But going to our next round here, Texas against Villanova. Right. This one's got some spice. So Nova here for bracket purposes is our 7 with Texas our 10. So me personally, I dropped into this one really looking at saying Nova, kind of like you do with Xavier, that nothing against the Big 12. But the Big East is just different. That's ridiculous. So I lean Villanova here, but what do you think?
Look, if it's the first 2 rounds of a bracket, I'm always going to take Nova. Because they come out strong. Tournament style basketball, Villanova comes out strong. They might lose a little bit of gas if they're not one of the best teams out there, but they've got great coaching. And they come out strong. And I think Texas, and to that same point, Texas isn't exactly playing in the heart of basketball country. There are some good teams that they see on a regular basis, but not to the amount that Villanova does. So again, I lean on the tried and true.
I think that's fair. So here, one of the biggest upsets we have picked for the round. Sorry, the biggest, not upsets, but probably the biggest difference here: Oklahoma and Xavier. Can Xavier pull that off right now? I mean, Oklahoma looks like they're probably a tournament team. They're on the bubble, as I said for this, but I think they're in. But like you said before, though, Xavier has that just constantly taking a beating week in, week out. Are they better than the record says they are? I don't know. But who would you take in this matchup?
Man, that's the tough. See, I do like Oklahoma's kind of. I think they've been strong as of late. That's a tougher one. I'd feel better about. You know what? I'm about to say I'd feel better about this if it was Nova other than Xavier. I think Oklahoma might be able to take them.
All right, I think I gotta agree there right now. I think they're just a little bit better of a team right now, but that's me. But going back to speaking of an old Big East piece here, Cincinnati and Syracuse for our next matchup. Two programs that I think are both going to miss the tournament. It's weird saying that these two city schools are two of the best in the country that way historically, but I think the Orange and the Bearcats find themselves outside looking in. But in this matchup, who would you be taking and why?
Ooh. So, I mean, Cincinnati has looked all right at times. I haven't seen anything of Syracuse. So they have a new coach now, though, don't they?
They do. Yeah.
So based on what little I really know about Syracuse this year, because I really haven't. I'm gonna look. Where are they ranked right now? Ooh, they're 17-10. That's not terrible.
It's depending really on how
in the conference. Right? Do what?
The ACC conference tournament will determine a lot of things for Syracuse. How do they play in there? How far? I think they can make a run there and buy their way into the tournament, but I think they're going to find themselves on the outside looking in. But weirder things.
Here's interesting. Right? So this is neutral. Their record at home is way better than their record on the road. So I'm going to take Cincinnati.
All right, I'll agree with that. And then Gonzaga, K-State.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against the Zags right now.
Gonzaga.
Providence and Iowa is another interesting one.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like overall, just the basketball programs in general for Iowa are kind of on a high right now. Just with everything that's going on. I mean, more so on the women's side, but still, man, that stuff feeds over. I'll probably take Iowa to have a good game.
Okay. I lean Providence this one, but I'm going to go with this one with Iowa. I think that makes sense here. But here we get to the Battle of Indiana. Indiana Butler.
Oh, yeah. So, kind of not great seasons as far as these teams' standards. Indiana is the kind of team they at least hang around. Butler's been kind of down the last few seasons. I think they're still kind of trying to refine to regain their basketball identity. I like Butler. They like to show up in games, but I don't know, man. Indiana, the Hoosiers, they can play. Butler's 16-11. That's not a bad. I'd probably say Butler. I think that would be a really good game, though. I think that would be a close game.
By the way, shout out to the Sycamores of Indiana State. They're currently looking squarely in the bracket as it stands. So it looks like they might be the second best program in the state, only behind Purdue. Purdue looking like they're solid on a one line right now. They're going to be a tough one to beat and out in the real deal. So next matchup for us goes to St. John's and Pitt. You know, Pitt, I used to for a long time, they're seeing him on a one line. And now here we see them scuffling, trying to just survive for their tournament life. St. John's is kind of those teams that they seem very bipolar to me. They're either up, they're down. I think I lean Pitt, but what do you think here?
I don't know. St. John's kind of scrappy. This is a tough bracket. That's why half these guys aren't going to be there. Let's see. Pitt. See, they started off pretty well, didn't they? They've kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, look. Just going back through, I
wish I could pull up the rankings and it would be broken down by segments, or not the rankings, the record. You're like, yeah, right. They're like 15-12, but they were, 6-1 the first 7 games.
So somewhere this is what I'm thinking of was they just got housed by Wake Forest, 58-91.
Yeah,
but they just smoked Louisville before that, 86-59. Before that, they beat Virginia 74-63, beat NC State 67-64, beat Notre Dame by 10. So they had a good outside of that Wake game. Pitt's had a nice looking month. Closing out the season, they have a tough slate here though. Virginia Tech is probably going to be a win for them, but going to Clemson looks like a loss. Going to Boston College looks like a loss. Florida State's going to be a tough one, playing at home. And then at home against NC State, who they just beat on the road. So Pitt's got an interesting path here to finish the season. But on the flip side, you mentioned St. John's being that scrappy team. It's one of those, again, the Big East tournament, you just don't know what you're going to get because it's the Daytona of conference tournaments. There's going to be a wreck somewhere. It's just a matter of when, who gets taken out by it. So
They're fifth. So St. John's is 15-12. They went 7-9 in the conference.
They've lost their last 3 though. They lost to Providence by
Well,
3.
they won. They beat Georgetown yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
90-85.
Georgetown, I think, has 1 win the last 2 seasons. The Hoyas are not looking like their old selves.
They lost to Seton Hall, Providence, Marquette. They beat DePaul, but who doesn't beat DePaul? They got pretty handled by UConn. I'm probably gonna give this one to Pitt.
Okay.
They look like the stronger team right now.
No, I'm with you on that one. I think we're in agreement here. We'll take Pitt over St. John's. Sparty versus the Bruins. I gotta tell you, Michigan State to me looks like they're squarely better than UCLA right now. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Michigan State. I think that's a sleeper team to get at least to the Elite Eight.
Okay,
I really do, and we've seen that happen from them before. So I don't think it would shock people too much.
Looking through all this, it's the whole idea is meant to be blue bloods, right? So looking here at a way, UCLA, Michigan State, Pitt, Butler.
Oklahoma's the only one that doesn't belong, right?
Well, I'm saying of all those though, Villanova. We have 7 teams who have held 1 lines in recent years. Oklahoma's been on 2 or 3 multiple times over again since he's been out. So Syracuse, this is a blue blood bracket for a reason. I think we're kind of talking ourselves into that exact spot now.
Yeah.
But Michigan State against Pitt is another one I'm going to say that's a hard one for me to see Pitt getting past. I think that
we're going to give this whole thing to Michigan State.
It's going to be a tough one to take them out. Butler and Iowa is a really intriguing matchup for me.
Yeah.
I lean Butler here. I think their offense is just a little bit better. Again, Iowa, I was saying defense and all supports unless it's Caitlin Clark, of course. But
that kind of stuff feeds over, man. It feeds over from team to team. When you got something like that big going on in your program,
it's energy
feeding off of that, right?
It's energy, but Butler's men's basketball program is kind of what defines that entire university. I mean, who else thinks about Butler for anything else but men's basketball?
That's true. Yes, I think Butler. I mean, and again, I want to kind of lean on that pedigree a little bit more with this one. Butler's been there, done that kind of a deal.
Now, this bottom part of the bracket,
battles when it counts.
I got a lot of battles for the rest of the way. The Zags and Bearcats to me is one of those really sneaky, weird matchups that could really throw a wrench in people who are doing this bracket. You kind of see that Cinderella rising. I got Cincy here beating Gonzaga, but I want to hear your take before we fill this line in.
Whew. Yeah, so this could be another close battle. Man, I don't know. The Zags make sense to me. I mean, they're solid. I could see what does Cincy have that the Zags don't, though?
A conference that's stacked. I mean, you have St. Mary's that really is your primary opponent for Gonzaga, right? And that's what they.
That's true.
But when it gets to who's actually in the way, I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you that for stronger opponents, since he's probably a stronger team because of that. So I'll go with you on that one.
All right.
It's a tough call,
Cincy for a big upset. And then I'm going to go back to what we talked about before. So still a second matchup for Nova. I got Nova beating Oklahoma.
I do too. Absolutely.
So what I think is funny here, you look at the top line, we go chalk, right? So Butler came in this thing as our 4 seed. Michigan came to it as our 1. And they just do what they're supposed to do. But then the bottom here, we get into the chaos. We'll call it the Cinderella bracket with Cincinnati and Nova playing for a chance to go for this bracket title. Again, this is all made up, people. If you're not aware, this is just a game we're playing to have fun with the bubble. But here I got Nova beating Cincy.
Yes.
In an absolute barn burner, call it double overtime, but I think Nova gets that clutch win at the end.
Yeah, Nova's the type of team and is the type of coach that will win this game.
So can we make a case for Butler against Michigan State?
I want to because I like Butler because I grew up like down the street from there a little bit, but I don't think so. I'd like to. I'm trying to figure out a way, but no, Michigan State's a better basketball team.
So we get to this point, Nova and Michigan State, two true blue bloods of the sport. Who are we passing through here to win this bracket if this were real?
It's Michigan State, right?
Well, they're the one for the reason, right? So it's kind of that, why even play if we're going to call chalk? But, man, they're chalk for a reason. Michigan State wins our little for fun blue blood bracket. And, it's –
They're 17-10 on the season.
So, look, we'll have some fun with some more stuff dealing with the tournament as we go on later. But, all right. Well, this is one of my favorite sections. We go into the show a little bit, and that's going to be our final thoughts. We're going to wrap it up here. But I guess what are you looking forward to this weekend, and what are you watching?
Actually, the boys and I are going to a monster truck show this weekend.
Okay.
So that I will be watching that. But Saturday, I'm excited to watch Elimination Chamber. That's going to be a big thing. Atlanta race ought to be pretty fun. And I'm hoping that at some point I'll figure out a way to catch up on a little bit of some spring training baseball. I am super, super excited that baseball is ramping up. Acuna just got named the number one player in Major League Baseball on the top 100 ranking. So that's exciting. It's always fun when you're cheering for, one of the best offensives in any sport. So I'm really excited to try to catch a little bit of that if I can. I know that they're playing on Saturday for sure, and that'll be on TV. So I look
forward to watching college baseball. It's that time of year I get to watch some games that are going to matter, and it's exciting for me either way. But I love to listen to MLB, spring training, especially on the radio. Some of the baseball game on the radio is just kind of soothing for me. But all that said, I'm gonna have a fun weekend watching Elimination Chamber and going to a hockey game tomorrow night. So it should be a fun time. But
oh yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna sign us off here. Kind of got distracted for a second. I apologize, but thanks for joining me tonight, and thanks for watching, guys. We'll see y'all later.
Better look somewhere else. Yeah, I can stand to lose a few pounds, but for right now, I'm working on my dad bod.